Greetings.
Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and before you immediately dislike the video because you're a priest fan, I want you to hear me out. Hear me out about why the current standard priest, this is standard focus priest, I feel honestly makes Hearthstone a worse game right now. A very frustrating game, and one that even a lot of priest mains, priest players that I know personally can't stand it, and what's happened to get us to this point and what the issues are. So before I get into it, I want to start with Wild, and why Wild Priest is kind of the example of what good priest can be, even though, believe me, there's problems with it, but there's problems with everything, of course. I want to go into Wild. So first we'll just talk about Wild as an example. The two big priest decks in Wild right now, you have Raza Priest and you have Big Priest, and Raza Priest has an established win condition. Raza, and to win a ridiculous amount of damage, you kill your opponent. But you know what to expect from that deck. As limited RNG, there is some aspects. You have like palm reading in there. You have Raise Dead, which are ironically to the problem cards I'm going to talk about. But overall, the deck has a win condition. It draws to it. It has its removal to get there, and you know what to expect. You can counter for it. You could play a Grizzled Wizard, Finley. You could play maybe a combo deck to try and beat them. There's multiple ways to beat Raza Priest. It's not like an unbeatable deck. And then you have Big Priest, which is just about spamming big minions and bring them back over and over. It's not the most exciting deck to a lot of players or a lot of people, including myself, but some people really love that archetype. But again, it's very exploitable. They don't have like anti-combo defense. They can be weak to aggression. Like there's plenty of things, and again, you know what to expect from that deck. You know they're going to essence either a big like taunt or a Vargoth or whatever, and you know what to expect from the deck. Again, these decks can be incredibly frustrating to face, but so can every deck in the game. If it's good, it's always frustrating because it prevents you from winning. And I feel like these priest style decks are kind of okay, and even have fringe ones in WoW, like Inner Fire Priest, where you leave a minion on board, it might kill you. And again, that's fine, it might kill you. And then you go into Standard Priest. In Standard, there are actually some cool archetypes out there. Standard has some cool priest cards. One of my favorite cards in Standard period is Zarella. Zarella, that you get rewarded for healing yourself up. You clear the board a lot of the time, and it's a very powerful card, but it's really cool. It's flavorful with priest, and is one of my favorite cards in the most recent set. I think Zarella is amazing. And then you have like the whole corrupt package that sees almost no play, but outside of like the high roll of drawing that 5-mana legendary, it's a really cool deck. It does, it could play like clowns for cheap. It can bring stuff back. There's some corrupt minions. There's some corrupt spells that can be interesting, but it sees basically no play because of the problem with priest is why would you ever run any of this stuff that's like just general win conditions, not immediate win the game with like a Raza Priest, when you just spam random. Look at this screenshot. I took this from a Casey tweet quite a while ago, and you've probably seen, you've had this plenty if you check your deck tracker after a priest game, where they play like 2 decks worth of cards just randomly generated. And to me, this type of random generation is almost more uninteractive or frustrating than any aggro deck out there, any combo deck out there. The fact that you're at the mercy of what random stuff does my priest opponent generate, and that was like, it was like tolerable when you had like, it was just random minions with like priest Galakron, but now we're at the point where it can be literally anything. A Brightwing can create a random legendary. The random spell pool is so ridiculous because you have Draconic Studies, you have Palm Reading, which can create any random spell. But the big offenders, like the biggest offender of why priest is such a frustrating experience to me, is Raise Dead in Scorpid, and the way they work together, where you Raise Dead your Scorpid, and your Scorpid can create Raise Dead, and it creates this infinite value chain, and you can never ignore a Scorpid because it is poisonous and can kill literally everything. And then you're at this point of a game where you're literally facing infinite random cards, and because priest has access to such good healing now, which I think it should, priest should be good at healing, it's priest after all, but because it has access to all this insane healing where they can create a Desperate Prayer, they can create a Flash Heal, a Renew, they infinitely create stuff that creates more stuff that keeps himself alive, that it's just like the most frustrating, nauseating experience, and they never kill you. Priest never kills you. They just make you suffer. The whole Control Priest archetype literally has no win condition other than making you feel pain through like random removal, through healing, and through eventual fatigue if you're a control deck through the Scoundrel. South Sea Scoundrel has been a card that has emerged in Control Priest. It's created to this point where it's not even that bad against like a Ticketus Warlock, because first they can mill Warlock with this card, they could steal Ticketus, they could steal Jiraxis, they could do all these things where people can't even reliably counter Priest anymore at High Legend with Warlock. And that's the thing, that's what's happening, is Priest is the best deck in the game at high ranks. It is now. If you look at the most recent Masters Tour event, Priest is the most brought class, it's the most banned class, and when it's not banned, it has the highest win rate of any class in the game. And we've always said this, whenever Priest is the best class in the game, it's typically bad for the game, but I feel like it's even worse at this point because it's such a frustrating experience to just face nonstop random that you never know what to play around. So you're just constantly just hoping they don't get that perfect answer. But with the current spell pool being so narrow, being so powerful, where you get a Soul Mirror, a Renew, a Palm Reading, Apotheosis so frequently, it's just impossible to beat them. And I feel like the biggest offenders, like I said, Raise Dead, Scorpid in particular, I would love to see those cards addressed, and especially Raise Dead. Raise Dead is problematic in WoW with Dark Lord Warlock, which has been the best deck in WoW for almost a year. I feel like Raise Dead is that card you look at that creates this infinite chain of a minion that creates a spell or creates value comes back. Like even a South Sea Scoundrel, bringing it back with Raise Dead in a Control Mirror is just automatically game winning most times. That's what a Priest Mirror comes down to. There's not even that much skill in a Priest Mirror. It's, well, did I draw South Sea Scoundrel and Raise Dead? And I've talked to Theo, I've talked to Zed a lot, or I've listened to Zed a lot about this stuff, and I mean, when the Priest man himself, Zed a lot, says delete Priest, you know there's some issues, and I feel the big issue is the infinite generation. I think Priest can be a really fun class, a cool class, if it has a legit win condition like the corrupt stuff. Ironically, there's these spell minions, if you look through. These minions actually synergize with holding a bunch of spells, but you never play them because you don't need a big taunt, and plus it just gets removed by a random card. And I haven't even talked about Sethic Veilweaver, which creates infinite value potentially. I haven't talked about Mindrender Elucia, which can be a super frustrating card because they're not even the peak problems of why Priest feels so bad to me. For me, it's the infinite random generation, the fact you can't play around it, and either, like, I would love to see a Raise Dead get addressed, a Scorpid get addressed, or a fundamental change to Discover, whereas if you discover a card, you reveal it to your opponent, they see what you've discovered, or you can't discover a card that can discover a card. Basically, make it so that any card that can create a card can't create a card that says discover in it or create in it. And I don't think those are great solutions. I think you just want to be more reasonable with your created by cards. But right now, in my opinion, Priest is out of control with Raise Dead, with Palm Reading, with Scorpid, with Renew, with the narrow spell pool. I feel like it needs to get scaled back a little bit because I just... Like Grandpa Simpson in the intro, when I queue a bunch of Priests, I honestly don't want to play Standard. Because the games are so long, so frustrating, and even when I win, I feel like I've lost. I feel like I've lost a lot of time. I've lost a lot of, lost my salt because I've exuded so much, and I just don't think it's a fun experience. But let me know in the comments below, are you okay with the current Priest style? Do you think that the infinite generation needs to be scaled back, or am I just complaining? Do I just hate Priest? But again, I have over 3,000 Priest wins. There are a lot of Priest decks I have loved over the years, but I don't know what this abomination of Priest is anymore, and I certainly don't want to play it or face it in Standard. I can tolerate a Raza Priest, I can tolerate a big Priest, but man, I can't stand an infinite random, I don't know what the hell this is Priest. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.